My name is Vanessa Sandoval, and I am the Immigration Legal Services Program Director here at Siren. I am the daughter of immigrants. My mother and father moved to the United States in the late 70s, mid to late 70s from Mexico, and they've lived here ever since. So myself and my three sisters, two of which are older, one which is younger, were all born here in the United States. My parents are from Jalpa, Zacatecas, Mexico. And in Mexico, basically, they didn't have anything. They didn't have much. They didn't own property. They didn't have jobs, and they both lacked an education. My father, as a matter of fact, is illiterate, and my mother had a third-grade education. So they moved to the United States shortly after getting married. My mom was expecting my oldest sister, and they came here illegally. And they came here to work and to give us a better future. For as long as I can remember, my mother worked as a hotel housekeeper, cleaning hotel rooms, and my dad worked in a pumice mine. Pumice is that small rock that doesn't weigh anything, that's used for, if you go get a pedicure, it's the stone that they use to scrub your feet. It's also used to scrub pots and pans in the restaurant industry. So my dad worked in a mine cutting out those rocks and shaping them for sale. And we grew up in Bishop, California, which is a very, very small rural community in the middle of nowhere. It's actually pretty hard to point out on a map. The nearest city is Reno, Nevada, which is about 3.5 hours away. So we grew up there in a very secluded community where there wasn't much diversity. There were a handful of Latino families and several Native American families, that most of which lived on the Indian reservation that was right outside of town, and everyone else was pretty much middle class to lower class white people. So that's where I grew up. I lived there from the time that I was born until I graduated from high school, which was in 2002. I was the first person in my family to go to college, my entire family, and we're Mexican, so there's a lot of us, not just my immediate family. I was accepted as a freshman to UC Berkeley, which was a great accomplishment. Throughout high school, I sort of didn't follow the beaten path of my older sisters. My oldest sister graduated, when she graduated, she had a 1-year-old, so she was a teen mom. My other sister graduated from high school and then pretty much went into waitressing in the retail field. It really didn't do much in terms of her education. So I basically did what I could to get good grades. I did very well in high school and I was accepted to UC Berkeley. And in 2002, never having gone to Berkeley before, never having visited the campus, not knowing what I was getting myself into, I basically packed up my bags and moved to Berkeley. And it was quite a culture shock compared to the small rural community that I had been raised in. I majored in Chicano-studies and I immediately took to that. It was a great experience. I learned from some wonderful professors, and they really basically taught me to look at myself and at the history of the Chicano movement, and to realize that Latino people in this country have made a huge impact. In school, I remember very limitedly learning about the civil rights movement. Never once did I hear about the Chicano movement. I didn't know about Cesar Chavez. I didn't know about all of those great Latino leaders who organized and did everything that they could to open up doors for people like myself. So the education that I received at UC Berkeley in terms of the Chicano-studies department and the ethnic studies department basically bred in me a sense of self-empowerment and the notion that I could do something, and I could do something that was bigger than myself. So I had originally gone to Berkeley thinking, okay, I'm going to get an education, I'm then going to go to law school, and I'm going to be a lawyer, and I'm going to make money for me, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do for me. And of course my family, but mostly for me. And being at Berkeley and meeting the people that I did and going to school with undocumented students who didn't have a social security number, something that I took for granted my entire life, who were ineligible for financial aid, all of those things that I kind of took for granted because I was a US citizen, that they didn't have, and they were doing just as well as I was, and they were pursuing careers, and they were motivating their community, really made me look into myself and say, do I really want to get an education just for me, or do I want to get an education to do something like these leaders have done for me? And I graduated from law school in May, this past May 2012. I'm going to be taking the bar for the first time in February, so hopefully that goes well. But the reason why I went back to law school was I feel that in order to make a positive impact in the community in which you live, the more education you have, the better of a platform you're starting off on. And I know some people think that it's elitist to say, oh, well, I have a doctorate degree, but I really think that when you come from a world where I came from, where you come from parents who have no education, the more education that you can get, the greater of an impact you can have to change that world that you came from. So that's why I went back to law school. And now I'm here. Hopefully I'll pass the bar in February, crossing my fingers. And now I'm here and I'm working as the Immigration Legal Services Program Director. We're currently focusing on filing as many naturalization applications as we can to motivate legal permanent residents to become U.S. citizens and to take part in the democracy in which they live. And we're also doing deferred action applications, and we are helping young students get their work permits through deferred action. And we're collaborating with the organizing department and the policy department here at Siren to promote and advocate for long-term immigration reform, which is one of the many things that's needed in order to better the lives of immigrants like my family, like my parents who came here looking not only for better lives for themselves, but to contribute to a better world.